What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekend astrology horoscope for the weekend of November 30th and December 1st of 2024. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Appreciate you all so much. Happy new moon in Sag this weekend. Definitely big news stories are starting to expand and grow in our life, and different philosophies and our guiding light and sort of what we believe in. These are big, themes around this lunation, but it's really important to make sure that you're doing it your way. This is your truth in Sagittarius. We got Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius also. It's your truth. It doesn't really have to be debated, but it doesn't have to be forced upon others either. And you definitely don't have to, fall into single file line and go with what somebody else is believing either. We got Pluto in Aquarius. But as we look at Saturday, we're going to see before the new moon that the moon is going to ingress into Sagittarius and make that rise of the phoenix ingress, and it can definitely feel a little bit more lighthearted, expansive, where things could have felt really restricted. That moon is going to come in and sextile Pluto in Aquarius, and that's nice. Very like freedom oriented on this Saturday, and kind of like being able to do what you want in your personal life and feel emotion the way you want to feel emotion and go through your own transformation. It's kind of like, we get to march to the beat of our own drum, as we come into this new story here. And that's the beautiful part about it, is it's your life to create that beat that you want to march to. Venus is starting to sextile very strongly over to Uranus in Taurus, and I just think it's more of an opportunity to be a boss, march to the beat of your own drum, dial in to what your purpose is, what feels really good to you, what feels like the things that you want to hit in life, what are the goals, what are the achievements in this story that we're about to start up, and what are the things too that we've been maybe conforming to that aren't ours. And I think that that's where this new moon, especially Saturday before the new moon, because it's going to come in the evening, and for the East Coast it'll be on December 1st, but it's really like finding where you've been conforming to maybe other people's needs. Because remember, Venus disposits a south node in Libra, and the moon's going to make really good aspects to that south node, and of course the not Chiron but the north node here as well today. And that's, we don't want to just be conforming to other people's needs and wants. Like, this is where we really got to kind of use Venus and Capricorn to be a little cold for like what's our ambition in life, right? Are we getting what we want? Are we on the sort of right path here? Or do we feel really derailed because of something else that we're sort of settling for, conforming to? And I think these are really good questions, because we want to use this Venus trine Uranus in a way to really hook up and connect to a value system that's unique to your story that you're creating and this path, and to not feel constrained to one path. Because this could be, your path could be through the bushes. There could be a trail right in front of you. Your path could be through the bushes. And everybody else might look at you funny. You're like, what are you doing in the bushes? And you're bushwhacking your way through, and you don't care, because it's your adventure. It's your story. And Saturday is a good day to like just be content with your story. Don't try and be someone else's story or conform to someone else's sort of goals or vision of life right now. It's really like settle in and feel good about what you're doing and like hunker down on that. As we look at the new moon itself, it's going to be at 9 degrees of Sagittarius, and we get this at 10:21 Pacific time. What is that? It's 1:21 East Coast time. It's exactly conjunct Antares, the big red giant, the heart of Scorpio. So it's where like I'm hesitant to say that this is like the easiest lunation in the world, because Antares doesn't, it's not really easy energy. It's great for a warrior spirit, right? It's just really, it desires, it wants, but it does lack compassion, and it kind of doesn't settle. It's also connected to Lucifer in some ways, as Aldebaran at 9 degrees of Gemini is opposing that. So it's kind of this interesting axis point between Aldebaran and Antares, of almost like Archangel Michael and Lucifer. So take that as you will, but this is where, people can become kind of ruthless. Like, this is something that if, say, back in the days, medieval times, say you were going to war for your kingdom and you were planning it out and you were talking to your astrologer and they were like, whoa, this general we're going up against has a Mars conjunct Antares or a Saturn or a Sun conjunct Antares, they would probably say, this is going to be hard, for one. This person's going to be relentless. They're not going to stop. They're going to be completely cold in many ways. So it's going to be difficult, right? So that's kind of like conversation that would go on back then. Like, whoa, maybe we should go around this general and take this general on because then we'll be able to get to our objective better. So they might, strategize about how to not go this way. So some of our journeys here are going to be met with a coldness or a strong opponent or something that is very strong and overpowering. And it could be something too that feels strong and overpowering, but this is where we got to have faith. We got to be able to see our story, see our vision, and really feel good about that. And then we have to also, as individuals, be able to channel that Antares energy for ourselves, that we have to be relentless as well. And that there are going to be times where we're going to have to be cold. And that there are times where we're not. We're going to be able to be gregarious in Sagittarius, and we're going to be able to be very lighthearted. But we want to be really on it for whatever our story is, so that we can expand our minds and expand our philosophy. With Mercury here, it's retrograde in detriment in Sagittarius, right? It's not even a mental game right now. It feels like it needs to be a mental game. Like we need to have things completely sort of laid out right or dialed in or a set schedule to what this journey or story is going to look like. But we don't. And we need to remember that with Jupiter starting to really oppose that Mercury again as we come off of this new moon, is that we have to be strategic, but we also have to be intuitive. And it's like intuitive action, intuitive exploration for our story, and to not give up. And that there's times where we're not going to need, we can't just hold some sense of compassion or guilt for something with the South Node in Libra or someone that is constricting our story. And I think that's where there's challenges this month, is because stories are going to veer, paths and trails and exploration of life is going to start to, it's not as much merging as it is sort of wying apart. And like the dogmatic approach of you have to come this way with me is going to be very difficult for people. And some people are gonna do it because they feel like there's no other choice, because they're not seeing their vision and following their guiding light. And they're gonna think linearly that this is what has to be done, and that's when things get tricky. But I think when we're able to think for ourselves and think independently and think about the freedom that we want to find and to grow with right now, there is a lot of wind at your sails kind of pushing you on your journey, but it can definitely feel challenging because this is like your philosophy and nobody else's. And we're trained to learn and do other people's philosophies in life. And this is a really intuitive time of trusting your own, wherever your guidance and your team's taking you and what path they want you to take. And you just have to trust that. First and foremost. And it might not make sense. And that's where it's confusing, right? It might not make sense. Really good aspects to Mars. Good aspects to the nodes. I mean, there's really good energy here for like being a warrior for your truth, being a warrior for your growth, for your vision, for your ideals of life right now. It's so good for that. But I do think there's conflict of interest when it comes to dealing with people, others. Venus, trine Uranus, I love it, But again, we can miss out. We can want to like follow suit, follow somebody else's values and vision and exploration. And it's like, are we being the boss at that point? Are we liberating ourselves? Or are we just doing what we think we have to do? And that somehow if we just keep following some other rule besides ourselves, that it's going to set us free eventually. Maybe. I don't know. But when I look at the astrology, it's a no. And we've gone through a bunch of healing with the square to Chiron, and that's great. And I think it's about being our boss and taking action in life instead of being stagnant. So it's like being responsible to take your own path, follow your own values, follow your own heart, be a warrior, be strong. We can't be too, we can't just want to sit in comfort either. Like we need to be adapting and growing into this new frequency right now. And I think when we're doing that, sky's the limit. But we're also square Saturn. It's a 3-degree orb. That's a pretty tight square. And the moon's going to square Saturn coming into Sunday on December 1st. So there's just blocks, there's things that are trying to inhibit you from the growth that you want to have. And you have to be a warrior and just fight through things right now. And I think that's where Antares can do people really good, because it's a huge, huge, huge star. Massive. They call it the big red giant for a reason. It's like I don't remember the exact number, like 500 times bigger than our star, than our sun. It's huge. So we need to remember to like grab that energy and push through and keep fighting for our beliefs, for our growth, for our story. Because it's going to feel like there's a bunch of, there's always, that's life. Saturn rules this realm, this time and space that we inhabit together and co-create with. But it's going to feel like there's weird blocks that the universe is like setting up. And it's not about blocking you. It's about testing your willpower. We're in fire now. Fire is will. Mars is in fire. It hasn't gone retrograde yet. That's coming. Neptune hasn't turned online yet. It's coming. And it's going to go into a fire sign when it goes direct. So there's a lot about our spiritual will, our ego. We need to be strong and tough. The North Node's getting ready to come into Pisces. This is such a good opportunity while it's making really good aspects to Pluto. As that sextile and trine builds, to be liberated for your freedom, to do what you need to do, to be an individual, to be unique. And there's so many good things about this new moon that are trying to set us up for success on our journey. It's not like everything is going to be just easy, but it sure will be worth it. And I think that you'll see a lot of things broadening up when you're able to get through challenges. And I think challenges can come through people. Challenges come through our environments right now. It feels like there's too much at once. And we have to remember to look out for ourselves and push through. And we could dial a lot of things up, but it can almost feel like we're getting scolded at times by our father for not following the rules. And I'm a father, and I hate it when my son doesn't listen to me and follow the rules. And I have to discipline him because it just is that way. I don't even like doing it, but I have to. I don't want him to just be complete, asshole. But this is where we are having to disobey authority or others or society in some way. And it doesn't have to be crazy. Like, we don't have to go full anarchy right now, but we're having to disobey things that we feel like we need to conform to. And it's a subconscious thing more than anything, so that we can break through and get to the other side, because we're so close to the other side. But it's a test of will, and it's a test of grit, and it's a test of individuality, and it's a test of being able to march to the beat of your own drum and follow your soul. Your soul, not someone else's. Yes, there are going to be souls that want to go this, that are just going to go the same way. It's great. We're going to have that. But we're also not in some places too. We have to be okay with that, and we have to be able to cut the cord. And that's, hard sometimes. And I think that's where Antares being, especially in sidereal or Vedic, it is, 15 degrees Scorpio. It's right in the heart of the sign of Scorpio. So there's scorpionic energy lingering. It's not like we're just piecing out a Scorpio here, and there is this undertone of intensity in this next lunation, but it's so worth it in the end, even though it can bring some struggle. Antares is crazy. My Mars happens to be at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. And I've read up on a lot of things about it. Like, I have other things in my chart that change that a little bit for me, but when you read up on like Mars conjunct Antares, which we don't have right now, Mars is in Leo, of course, but we do have this new moon on it. It's like zero compassion and zero remorse for other people. Will ruthlessly beat you into submission. Like, Antares has that kind of energy just by itself. It's Mars and Jupiter energy mixed in with the sun, which is cool because of that creative burst and power that comes with it. But kind of got to be a savage a little bit to get to where you're supposed to be right now. And that's what's going to get you to the proper timeline, the story that you're meant to be on right now. Pretty cool new moon. I do like it, but damn. December 1st, happy December, everybody. We are going to see the moon start off the day, of course, square Saturn. The sun comes to 10 degrees, square Saturn. So right off the bat, it can kind of feel like, ooh, this is supposed to be a very expansive time in life. It's a new moon in Sagittarius. Shouldn't everything be opening up? But Saturn's there like, mm-mm. Are you going to be tough? Are you going to be resilient? Are you going to do things a little bit your way? Are you going to break subconscious patterns in Pisces? Or are you, in some ways too, with Saturn and Pisces, it's like testing your strength to see if you're going to be overly compassionate with a South Node in Libra and do what other people need you to do on Sunday when you clearly need to stop that pattern and do something for yourself to liberate and open up and expand. Expansion is chosen right now. This weekend, expansion and growth is chosen, or you can feel like you just have to conform and stay in your line. Stay in your lane. Venus is trining Uranus very tightly on Sunday. It's just going to feel better when you don't. It's just going to feel better when you do your own thing. When you trust your intuition. Venus is also starting to sextile over to Neptune. You got to trust yourself. The moon's going to meet with Mercury, retrograde in Sagittarius. It's much more internalized. This isn't such a linear way of thinking. This is a much more intuitive time. Sagittarius in general, it's more intuitive. Like, just intuitively act. And don't guilt yourself. Try to feel regret. It's okay if you want to do something different right now. It's so okay. In fact, I would recommend it. Like, please do something different. The moon is gonna semi-square Pluto. And that makes it a little bit more weird too. It's like you have to be liberating yourself right now for what is going to open up your life and what's going to feel best to you. And you have to trust your intuition and not fall in line. And that's the traps this weekend, is like trying to conform to what somebody else wants and not doing what you want to do. So really, really put intent this weekend on taking the initiative in life to expand your story, because a new story is beginning. And it's a new story that has Pluto in Aquarius. And we got to break patterns here. We got to start inventing, new stories for ourselves. And growing. And Mercury's trying Chiron, and the moon's going to try Chiron. And there's just so much healing in your intuitive action based on intuition, on an inner knowing. It might not make sense, but you feel it. You want to trust that. Definitely want to trust it. And the right energy is going to be with you. And you have to trust that too. The right energy is going to be right there creating with you. The energy that's not supposed to be there, And we're gonna see why it's not supposed to be there, and we have to be the boss and the big boy and big girl and be like, this isn't good for me. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I hope you all have a great weekend. Hope you have a great new moon. I hope you're a savage for your story. And I hope you don't let people bring you down and make you conform. Something that you don't need to conform to. Two of Swords in reverse. Isn't that funny? It's such a decision card and such a mental card. And ooh, I gotta kind of pick a way here, pick a path, but I'm blinded. Eye drops. Those don't look good. Acid, dropping acid in her eyes. The seeing is not about this linear path that we need to take or this linear understanding. Like the seeing is from within. That is where we find our path and our way. And it's not confusing. You know it. You need to trust your knowing. Follow that wherever it takes you. And it might not be sunshine and rainbows. It might be. But that's exactly where you're supposed to go right now. And you don't want to stop yourself and rebel from your own sense of needing to follow that. If you're rebelling from yourself, I'm sorry. If you're rebelling from somebody else's story or philosophy of life, good. I hope that makes sense. I love you all. Have a beautiful new moon, and I'll see you all on Monday. Much love. Peace.